Hi everyone, so I will be counting down my picks for my top 6 favorite animated movies and Cartoon Network cartoon episodes. Okay, so before I get started with this list, I do want to make some things clear. Please note the disclaimer that is in the description to this video. For this list, there can only be one entry per franchise. Please keep in mind that my opinion has changed a lot, so this list might not be permanent. And also, please keep in mind that I will be going over some spoilers in this video, so spoiler alert. Thank you all very much. Number 6, Toy Story. Okay, so this animated movie is the only Disney movie that is on this list, and it is also the only Pixar movie that is on this list, and it is also the very first Toy Story movie, and it is also both my favorite movie from both Disney and Pixar, and my favorite movie in the entire Toy Story franchise. Okay, so the main reason as to why I love this animated movie so much is because of the stuff between both Woody and Buzz. And that is also the main reason as to why I love the Toy Story franchise so much. And I also really like the fact that this is the very first Pixar movie ever. So overall, this animated movie is definitely one of my favorite movies ever, and I think that it belongs on this list. Number 5, Shrek. So, Shrek is another animated movie that is on this list, and it is also the only DreamWorks movie that is on this list. And, in my opinion, this movie is both the best movie in the entire Shrek franchise and the best DreamWorks movie ever. This movie is also the very first movie in the entire Shrek franchise. And, okay, so one of the biggest reasons as to why I love this movie is because of the story in this movie. I think this movie has, really enjoyable story in it. I love, the story in this movie. And I also think that this movie has some very enjoyable characters, such as Shrek, Donkey, Fiona, the list goes on. Yeah, and I also really like how the Shrek franchise, has a lot of fairy tale creatures, and I think that is, really interesting. Shrek is, in my opinion, definitely one of the best movies, and I also think that it deserves a spot on this list. I really do love this movie so much. Number 4, Episode 16 of Total Drama Action. Okay, so this episode is the first episode to be on this list, and this episode is also from my favorite Total Drama season, which is Total Drama Action, which is also the second season of Total Drama. Okay, so in this episode, this is the episode of Total Drama Action where the teams for this season merge, and the challenge for this episode is also about spy movies, and I find that to be a pretty cool challenge for Total Drama. And I also, so the main reason as to why I love this episode so much is because, of the stuff between both Duncan and Harold, and that is also the main reason as to why Total Drama Action is my favorite Total Drama season ever. This episode even references to another cartoon show titled 16, and I find that to be a really cool reference, partly because this is the 16th episode of Total Drama Action. Overall, in my opinion, this is definitely the best episode in Total Drama history. Number 3, 1 + 1 = Ed from Ed, Edd n Eddy. Okay, so this is another episode that is on this list, and so I love how this episode is titled 1 + 1 = Ed, when really 1 + 1 = 2. I do really like that joke. So I think this is a really cool episode of Ed, Edd n Eddy. Some unusual things happen in this episode, such as, Sarah's mouth being taken off, Rolf getting 3 heads, the list goes on. Okay, so in this episode, Ed, also known as Double D, and Eddie, discover how the world works, and, they discover how the world works, and they take things apart. A lot of things are taken apart, in the world in this episode. It's to the point where even gravity is destroyed. Some really cool and unusual things happen in this episode, and I think it is a really cool and fun episode of Ed, Edd n Eddy. It's definitely my favorite episode of Ed, Edd n Eddy. Definitely my favorite episode ever of Ed, Edd n Eddy. Overall, this episode of Ed, Edd n Eddy is definitely one of my favorite cartoon episodes ever. Number 2, Hunger Strikes from the Tom and Jerry Show. Okay. So, in my opinion, this episode of the Tom and Jerry Show is easily the best episode in the entire Tom and Jerry franchise. Okay, so this episode is about Tom, Jerry, Tuffy, Spike, and Tyke being at a house, like, during a really snowy, while it's, really snowing, while it's snowing outside, and they all get hungry, and they look for food, and they don't find enough food to make them full. And I find this to be a really fun and entertaining episode from the Tom and Jerry franchise. I really do love the interactions between Tom, Jerry, Tuffy, Spike, and Tyke in this episode, especially the ones with both Tyke and, both Tom and Spike. I especially love the interactions between both Tom and Spike in this episode. I think that this episode of the Tom and Jerry Show is easily the best cartoon reboot episode ever. So overall, in my opinion, this episode of the Tom and Jerry Show is easily one of the best episodes in animation history, and it is not number 1 on this list. Number 1, Dragon Ball Z: Wrath of the Dragon. Oh my gosh, I love this movie so much. It is easily my favorite movie ever. I do really enjoy this movie. I think it has great action. The action is amazing in this movie, in my opinion. I really love the action, and I think it has really great characters. This anime movie has what is easily my favorite battles in the entire Dragon Ball franchise, and that is, the battle against Hirudegarn in this movie. Even though that battle isn't canon because this movie is not canon to the Dragon Ball franchise, I still really, really love that fight. It is such a great battle, in my opinion. This is such a great animated movie, in my opinion. Okay, so, I really do love the battle, against Hirudegarn in this movie. I really do love the battle against Hirudegarn in this movie. I really do enjoy the part where Goku destroys Hirudegarn with his Dragon Fist while being in Super Saiyan 3, and I really do like how after that, in the end, before the credits show up, Tapion gives Trunks his sword, and I find that to be really interesting because, future Trunks does have a sword in the Dragon Ball franchise, even though this movie is not canon to the Dragon Ball franchise. I also really like the stuff between both Tapion and Trunks in this movie. I find that to be really interesting. And I love how characters such as Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Trunks, Goten, Tapion, and Videl go against Hirudegarn. I think that is very, very awesome. I really love this movie. Easily my favorite movie ever. Definitely one of my favorite things about the entire Dragon Ball franchise. Such an amazing movie, in my opinion. I think that this movie is a little bit better than the previous entries. I think that this movie is a little bit better than the previous entries that are on this list. Overall, Dragon Ball Z: Wrath of the Dragon is definitely my favorite movie ever, and in my opinion, it so deserves the number 1 spot on this list. Well, that is it for this list, everyone. Bye, everyone, and thank you all for watching this video.